Several years ago, I took psilocybin mushrooms and had an awakening experience. It was so easy to see and understand everything that is talked about in Nonduality. But once the drugs wore off, things returned to normal, and this left me confused. I can't see freedom, and I can't make progress on the spiritual path, if there is such a thing. I feel stuck and can't seem to get past this. Can you give me advice? Hey, Mate. Like, my first advice would be to speak to someone one-to-one about this, because there's maybe like lots of things going on there that could be addressed, and I don't feel to address them live on YouTube because I don't want to make you feel too vulnerable. But if we go back to the psilocybin talk, you know, so if we're feeling stuck, it's most probably best to get a one-to-one session with a non-duality teacher or something, or a therapist who does non-duality. But to the psilocybin, I would agree that psychedelics do something in the brain where it really makes the person open for surrender. So what happens, I feel, on psychedelics, so when you take mushrooms, is your whole world and everything begins to change because you're going into a trip. So everything that you thought was no longer is. Your perception of reality is completely altered. And this can create immense fear, or there can be a surrendering. And if there is a surrendering, then a oneness experience can happen where there is immense love and the separation between you and the world disappears. And that's the same as what happens to me with an awakening in life, is that you keep questioning your reality, and then something breaks, and there can be this fearful experience that arises, and there can either be a surrender to it or not. And it's quite dangerous. It's quite a radical process, really, even on psychedelics, because there is always a possibility that you go into immense fear and you have like a psychological breakdown. So it is a risky thing. But if there is a surrender in it, then this oneness experience happens. And it is an experience, but it can fundamentally change something where you is no longer the center of the universe, and there is this expansion that's beyond you. So that contraction to being inside the body was always a story which was being told. It's that you are limited. Like, part of your experience is always completely limited. And when you have that awakening experience, something can be shifted. Yes, that oneness and loss of separation happened. There was no fear. Yeah, sometimes when you do psychedelics, there can be no fear at all, but sometimes it can be like a choice. It's not really a choice, but it's like there is this fear or is this surrender, like complete surrender to the experience. And now science is beginning to prove that something really magical can happen when there is the surrender to not knowing, in a way. Like on psychedelics, like you really don't know. You really don't know. Like, life is really mysterious. Like, life is really mysterious, and it's kind of like our knowing and our constant attempt to living in knowing, like, I exist, I am solid, I am in here, and there is a world out there, which creates the problem, but we don't know how to undo that. And it comes like an energetic thing that's maybe passed on through DNA. Whereas part of your experience now is absolutely limitless. Absolutely limitless. You're not your body, you're not your mind, you're not your thoughts. Just this moment. This is all that's important. It's all that's ever important, is this moment. There's nothing to be got here. Like, who are you here anyway? You know, when you're doing psilocybin, you don't know who the heck you are. I mean, it depends how big a dose you take. And who and what are you in relationship to? Where are you going? The person is always in, where am I going? What can I get for this? How does this fill in the story of me? How do I avoid feeling any tension or fear or discomfort? Like, it's really like a collapse. So if there's fear, it's just allowed. If there's discomfort, it's just allowed, because there's nobody that has an idea of how something needs to be. There's a personality that arises, but fundamentally it's like emptiness, it's spaciousness. There's nothing that needs to be. This is free. This is free. This is all you need, is this moment. I mean, this is the fundamentals of non-duality. This moment is so alive. There's all these types of therapies that can be done to help with trauma, to help letting go the person, but we're not talking about that now. We're pointing back to the radicality of this. Like, who are you? What needs to go anywhere? Right now, in the intimacy of the moment, there is no you and there is no them. There's only you and them in time, and time appears here, but it's not real. What's real is what is, which is unknowable. This is unknowable. It's the most amazing dream of surrender. Like, this is unknowable. We don't know what's coming. We don't really know what's been in the past. We don't know who's good or who's bad. I mean, that's totally, we can say it relatively, but it's totally unknowable. Like, I'll give an extreme example. Like, is testing on animals good or bad? Some people would say it's good because it helps humans and it saves the suffering of humans. And some people would say it's bad because we have no right to test on animals and to use animals in that way. I tend to be more on the side of pro-animals, but I also see if a family member was in pain, I would want them to be helped. Which side are you on? And waking up is really like, it's like the body has opinions, so the opinion of this body is of that, but it's really not true, because I can see that life is like infinite mirrors. We can't really find what's what. We don't really know what's good or what's bad. Like, if we do this short period of testing on animals, we might make a miraculous society, we might make a disastrous society. Who knows? We just don't know anything. Most people are so attached to their thoughts, and their fundamental thought is that I'm alive and I exist. Whereas who's alive and who exists? Who let their dogs out? There's just nowhere to go. There's what's happening. And the character is made up of the conditions of what's apparently come before, the genetics. You could call it karma. And those karmas arise now with the body, but it doesn't mean that they're real. So the karma of this body believes more in not testing on animals, but it doesn't mean it's real or true. It doesn't need to go to war for that. It also understands that life is infinitely complex, that it's mysterious in the end, that we are here. Person is always looking for good and bad, the right queen to follow, the right king to follow, the right perfection. I am right. This is right. I'll kill you for it. But who cares? Love is this. So all your passions, that you need the new lover, that you need this person in your life, and if you don't, you'll die. Love is this. It's not found in a thing. And then you celebrate with your lover. You celebrate the love of this with your lover. I celebrate it with Khaleesi every morning in the forest. Like, I just love being with Khaleesi. Khaleesi's my dog, for those that are new. Like, she, we walk in the forest every morning and she's in celebration. She's so into every smell, every sound, every fear that she experiences. This morning we walked and we got rained on so much and she was so into it. And at first I tried to hide under the trees to not be rained on because I'd got a nice dress on. And I was like, oh, fuck it. Absolutely drenched. And it was just glorious. Like the feeling of the mud beneath my feet, the rain on my skin. Okay, granted it wasn't freezing cold. That might not have been so glorious. But the rain on my skin, the dampness, the smells, Khaleesi shaking her wetness onto me. It's a celebration. This is a celebration. I also celebrate it with my partner. Like, I don't have some romantic idea of who he is that I'm in love with, although when I think of who he is, I'm like, wow, you're so cool. But in the moment, it's a celebration every time with him. Even if it's like I'm tired or I don't feel good or I feel sick, it's like, this is it. This is what humans have forgotten. They're always in that. I need this, I need that. All these stories that they're lost in. And then here we are, so vulnerable and naked without anything. Without anything.